Get it. It's timing down finally. The YouTube and Facebook are starting at the same time, man. Praise God. I'm still looking forward to hopefully this, man. I pray you guys have been having an awesome day. I hope everything is going very, very well for you. Man, my day has been fantastic, man. I had a study earlier today with a couple of my brothers. The actors were great, and then we went and had some food. And my daughter wanted to do some shopping, and I ran into somebody that I ain't seen in 10 years, and come to find out that this brother has went back to the foot of God, man. Went back to the feet of the cross, like just crazy, man. And it was encouraging. It was a and a half to see him, and I love. I mean, back then he was like family. He still fit like family now. We just haven't seen each other in forever. And man, today was just such a blessing, y'all. So check this out. I want to share something with you guys because I didn't get much sleep last night. And man, it was worth it. God was telling me a story, man. And I want to share that story with you guys. I shared it with my Bible study group and I shared it with my family. And I want to share it with you guys, man, because like, and I'm gonna give you the short version. If I give you the long version, we'll be here forever and we'll never get to the Proverbs. But I'm gonna give you the short version. I'm gonna try to shorten it up as much as possible and give you as much detail. And like I said, I went to bed last night. I was getting ready. I was like, man, tomorrow's study is gonna be fire. Lord, thank you for the word that you have for us to give, and let's go from there. And man, I want to let you guys know we study at a place called Freddy's Custard and Burgers, or Burgers and Custard, something like that. But it's one of my favorite places. I went to that place with young bro Lalo and Sosa way back when we were in Kansas City, because we had to wait for a while for our flights. And so Freddy's has kind of always held a special place for me as far as just kind of sitting in fellowship, and right. So that's where we have our Bible study, man. And I don't really pay attention when I'm studying, when I'm talking. I don't really pay attention to what's going on around me. And today, I was noticing that people were listening in on the conversation we were having. We were talking about God. We were talking about Jesus. We were talking about our salvation. We were talking about the many things that God has done in our lives. And people were listening, y'all. People were listening. Some of them intently. Like I looked up and I looked across the room, and there was a guy that was like sitting and leaning forward today. And when I looked over at him, he kind of, you know what I mean? And him and his wife actually stayed. They stayed until we left, and we were there for like an hour and a half, not even really trying to eat, just having these conversations. Everybody was eating and doing whatever, but the focus definitely wasn't eating. The focus was God. It was just an awesome experience, man. And man, today was just awesome, y'all. I can't, I'm borderline getting emotional. Anyway, I had that time to give this story that God told me. And I was laying in my bed last night, getting prepared for the day, just thanking God. And God was like, my son, I want to tell you a story, right? And I went to bed at like 2 o'clock. I think it was like 2:30. And man, I laid awake until 7 o'clock. That's when God finished. But the story was called The Little Orphan. That's what God told me the story was. He told me the story was called The Little Orphan. And God was telling me about a little orphan boy that had never known his parents ever. All of his memories of him being by himself and living life by himself. He learned how to feed himself by diving into trash cans. He learned how to clothe himself by stealing clothes or putting whatever together. If somebody threw away some clothes, he figured out how to put them on. He kind of wore them his own way. And he went through his life doing all these things by himself. And of course, there were lessons that he learned as being a child and homeless. There was lessons that he learned, like, wow, you were so young to be digging in the trash. And can I get you some food? And the little orphan boy is like, nah, because like I said, he's got these certain situations in his life that have taught him how to react to everything. And it's from him learning on his own. And he looks at the rich man. He's like, nah, I don't want no business with you. And the rich man's like, come on, let me just get you a meal. And the little orphan boy dives back in the dumpster, and he just stays in there, right? Doesn't pop back out, nothing, because of course the rich man's not going to dig through that trash, right? So he stays under there, digging through the trash. He waits patiently, and no food really gets thrown in the trash can that day. And he's just like, man. So he jumps out of the trash can. He starts walking to the end of the alley, and at the end of the alley is a white paper bag in a cup. He's like, what is this? And the rich man had went and bought him a meal anyway. Granted, it had been some time, so the meal was cold and the drink was warm. You know what I mean? The meal cooled goes back to his regular life, and it starts becoming periodic. This rich man pops up by this little orphan boy, and it goes on for about a year that this rich man pops up and offers the little orphan boy food. He won't take it, and he eats this cold meal every time because the rich man leaves this cold meal. Well, it starts getting to the point that the little orphan boy starts to understand that the rich man is going to leave him food, so he just kind of lays in wait for the rich man. He has this conversation with him, and then he dives back down in the dumpster and waits for him to leave because he does the different things that you could do. And then the little orphan boy is like, I don't know. And eventually he convinces him. So he goes to live with him, right? And he goes to the rich man's house. The rich man's house, of course, is big. And the little orphan boy, being who he was, teaching everything on his own, he was like, so do you want me to just sleep in the streets here? I'm so encouraged by the things that Aaron is doing right now. I'm so proud of him. Just wanted to let you know that since I saw you pop up. So the little orphan boy walks in, he sees this big house, and he's like, so you just want me to sleep out here? Do you want me to sleep in the garage? I don't want to be an embarrassment to you because I'm homeless and I do things a certain way. And the orphan boy has his own way of doing things, right? So when he has to go to the bathroom in the street, he just goes to the bathroom. And so he goes to the bathroom in the room, and the rich man sees it, and he's like, man, you have to clean that up. And the rich man shows him how to clean it up and gets it cleaned up. And then the rich man says, this is the bathroom. And he opens the door, and you see, you know what I mean? And the rich man opens, he's like, here, this is the bathroom, right? But remember, the little orphan boy don't know what he's doing. He don't know what bathroom means. So the next day, uses the bathroom on the floor again. The rich man comes and he cleans it up. And then he's like, this is the bathroom. And then, this goes on for some time. And then all of a sudden, the orphan boy is like, man, every time I feel like I gotta relieve myself, this guy he helps me clean it, and then he says, this is a bathroom. I'm supposed to, because this is like a smooth floor. It's going to be a lot easier to clean up if I go to the bathroom in here. So he uses the bathroom in the floor, at least in the bathroom. Then the rich man's like, oh, man, well, at least you use the bathroom this time. Now let me show you how this stuff works. So the rich man starts showing the young man how the toilet works. He starts showing him how the sink works, right? And this is one lesson the rich teaches the orphan boy. And then in the midst of that, when the orphan boy is hungry, what does he do? He dives in the trash. So he gets hungry in the middle of the night. He gets hungry in the middle of the day when he's living with the rich man, and he goes down the stairs, he goes outside, and he gets in the trash, and he starts digging through the trash for food. And the rich man's like, hey, this is the kitchen. This is the kitchen. If you're hungry, this is the kitchen. And again, the orphan boy doesn't understand what he's talking about because this is not a lifestyle that he's used to. And over and over again, the rich man, no, this is the kitchen. This is the kitchen. And the little orphan boy, one night, he's coming down the stairs because he's hungry, and he comes down and looks down the hallway where the kitchen's at, and he sees that the light's on, and he's like, well, this dude keeps orphan boy. Again, he doesn't know this stuff. He doesn't know what a burger is. He doesn't know what a sandwich is. All he knows is that these things that he puts into his body makes his body feel full, and his tummy's no longer grumbling. So he tells the man, and he says, well, I don't know. Just make me something that I can consume. Make me something that's going to take this stomach growling away from me, right? So the cook gets to cooking. And the little orphan boy hears sizzling of steak for the first time. He hears the frying pan going. He hears the spoon going around in the pot. He smells the aroma of fresh tasting, fresh, good food for the first time. And he's like, man, usually food is something that just fills my stomach. But right now, this smells good. Man, I'm actually excited. And his stomach starts bubbling more. His mouth starts watering. He's like, man, this is crazy. I've never experienced this before. I wonder what this is going to taste like. And the cook slides the plate across to the orphan boy and slides a drink across. And this is the first meal. Let's say that the orphan boy is 13, 14 years old now. This is the first meal that orphan boy has ever ate that was warm. So the first time that warm food has ever went down into his body. The first time an ice cold drink has ever went into his mouth. And he's just like, man, this really is better than what I was doing. I was diving in garbages and this stuff, like it just gave me sustenance, but it wasn't tasty. This is tasty. Man, thank you so much. And the little orphan boy just learns all these lessons and completely starts to transform from a little orphan boy that knew nothing to being a young man that knows all kinds of things, that has knowledge, that knows how to talk to people, that knows how to deal with certain situations, knows how to dress. And little by little, the little orphan boy starts to resemble the rich man, because it's the rich man. Look, I've taught you every lesson you need to know. You have learned every lesson that you need in order to go out and be a man and build your own house with your own hands. Now, if you follow my instructions, you will be successful. And even if you are not successful and you can't get it because you followed my instructions, I will help you. I will always be there. All you have to do is call on me. But I want you to give the best effort that you can in the instructions that I have given you for every task that you need to do. And the little orphan boy goes out and he does what he's supposed to do, right? In all the things that he is doing, in all the stuff that he is getting into, he starts to make new friends. He gets a new job, gets himself an apartment, and he is moving through life and things are going great. And one night he goes out with his friends. He goes out to a bar, never been to a bar before in his life. His friends, there is a man sitting in the back corner of the bar and he's looking at him. And the little orphan boy kind of looks away. What did I say? His name was Billy. So Billy kind of looks away and then he looks over and the dude is still looking at him. And he looks away and he looks over. And then the dude starts making gestures at him, giving him the middle finger, this, that, and the other, right? So Billy's like, I got to find out what's going on. He walks over to him and he's like, excuse me, sir. I noticed that you seem to have a problem with, I didn't do anything to you. I don't know why you're acting this way towards me. And the man goes, I know you don't know who I am. I know you have no idea who I am, but that's okay because I know who you are and I know who your father is. And then the little orphan boy is like, what do you mean you know who my father is? Like, what is the deal, right? And this man starts talking bad about the little orphan boy's father. Little orphan boy starts to spaz out. Who do you think you are? Right? Who do you think you are to talk about my father? Who do you think you are to say these bad things? Do you know what my father brought me through? Do you know what my father brought me to in my life? Do you know what he saved me from? Do you know that he took me off the streets? Do you know that he made me the man that I am right now? And the little orphan boy starts to get all bent out of shape. His friends are pulling him back. Then the little orphan boy starts having this thought, like maybe this dude knew I was an orphan and he's trying to discredit me and it makes him that much madder. And all of his friends are pulling him back and they get him out and he goes home. And he's like, man, I can't handle this. So the next day he goes to his dad and he's like, Dad, the rich man, right? He's like, Dad, there was a man at the bar and he was talking so bad about you. It made me so frustrated. How was I supposed to handle that situation? I don't know how to handle these types of situations. I've never heard anybody talk bad about you, Dad, and I don't want to deal with that no more. And then his dad says, you know what, my son, it's okay. You did the right thing by walking away. You don't have to defend my name. You don't have to defend my name because if it comes down to it, I'll defend my name for myself. But my son, if you see that man again, please invite him to come and talk to me himself. And then I will defend myself to him. So the little orphan boy kind of gets all a little bit pumped up. He's like, oh, my dad's about to handle this. My dad about to handle this, right? And he goes back to that bar on purpose to see this man. He goes back to that bar on purpose to see this man, and he sees the man. And then the man, sure enough, gives him the little snicker, gives him the finger, and he's like, yeah, here you are again. You must be wanting to hear me talk bad about your dad some more. And the little orphan boy walks up to him with every confidence in his life, and he's like, nah, I don't want to come back and hear what you have to say to my father. What I want you to do is I want to invite you to my father's house because my father said for you to come with me so that you can talk that mess to his face and you can talk to him and he will defend himself. And the man's like, I don't need to go to that house. I don't need to go to that house. The little orphan boy kind of gets to tripping on him a little bit. What, you chicken? You scared? I thought you was a tough guy. You wanted to talk to me that way, but you won't talk to my father? He gave you the invitation to come to his house to talk to him that way. So come on, let my father defend himself. Say the things that you're saying about my father. Slander my father to his face. And it takes a little bit, but all of a sudden the man's like, okay, all right. So they jump in the car and they start driving to the father's house. And the man starts talking about he's very successful. He's done all kinds of things. He's on his third wife. His business is booming. He's got kids that he's working on seeing again and everything. And he starts filling the little orphan boy in on all this stuff and all these great multitudes of things that he has done in his life, right? And so the little orphan boy kind of starts putting two and two together. He's like, man, he's been married multiple times. He's trying to get him back with his children. He says his business is booming, but looking at him, it looks like his business may be falling apart. Man, maybe he's just having a bad day. So the little orphan boy kind of starts having a soft heart towards the guy. Right. And then they pull up to the house. They get to the house. The gates open. They walk up the driveway and they go into the house. When the doors open to the house, the little orphan boy looks up and his father is running down the stairs. Little orphan boy is like, oh, snap. This dude's about to get it. This dude's about to get it. My father is running down these stairs. This dude's about to get it, whatever. And the father is just hurriedly running down the stairs. And then the little orphan boy kind of gets worried, like, wait a minute. This is kind of weird because my dad is really hauling his backside down these stairs and he runs past the little orphan boy and grabs the man. father, hitting the father with his elbow, hitting him with his arms, trying to get his arms off of him. And the father just stands there and holds him. Little orphan boy is kind of like, what is going on? What is happening? Right? And then he starts to notice that his father is just holding on to the man. And what it looks like a hug. And the man is fighting. He's trying to get away. And he's just yelling and screaming and hitting, kicking, pushing. And then eventually the man starts to get tired. He gets tired and his voice starts to soften up. His voice is all hoarse, sound like he got laryngitis, and he's just fighting and fighting. He's just finally out of breath, and he's just like, stop. Let me go. I don't want you touching me. Just let me go. And the little orphan boy's father says, my son, I'm so happy you're finally home. I'm so happy you're finally home. And the father is sitting there with little marks on his face from the man hitting him. The father's sitting there with a bunch of handprints on his body, and the little orphan boy is just mind blown. And the man just sits there and he's just broken, and he's just like, let me go. I don't want to be here. I don't want to see your face. I don't want to be around you. And the father is just holding him and saying, my son, I'm so glad you're home. I've been looking forward to this day. I've wanted this day for so long. I can't tell you how long I've wanted to see you. And the father's just holding on to him, and the guy's just weakly trying to push him away. And he just finally submits, and he breaks down and he starts crying. And the little orphan boy's sitting there and he's like, this is crazy. So this is my brother. This is somebody that's a part of my family. And then the father lets go of the other man, and the other man is like, where were you? You said you'd always be there for me. Where were you? Where were you when I was hurting? Where were you when my businesses were falling apart? Where were you when I needed you most? And the father said, I've been there the whole time. And that man turns around. He's like, you're a liar. You were never there. Every time I turned around, your face was never there. I never saw your hand. You're lying to me right now. The father says, follow me. So the little orphan boy and the other man follow their father up the stairs. And the little orphan boy starts walking down the hallway, and he's looking at all these doors of all these rooms, of all these places that he learned all these lessons to go through his life. He's recollecting all this stuff. And as he goes through all these doors and walks past all these doors, he starts to remember, man, there was always one room that my dad wouldn't let me into. And they stop right in front of that door that he was never let into. And the dad and the rich man opens the door, and it's a bedroom. And then the other man starts to kind of shudder and stand there. And it's the other man's room, left exactly how he left it when he left the house. And they walk in, and the man sits down on his bed, and he's like, it's been so long since I've been in this bed. And then the man is like, what makes you think that I'm going to forgive you for anything? What, just because you made me sit on your bed? You were never there for me. And the rich man opens a drawer beside the bed, and there's a bunch of cell phones inside of the drawer. And the man's like, what, you just going to show off? So what, you're going to make a little birthday card? What, you offering me a cell phone so that you can keep in touch with me? What are you trying to do? And the rich man plugs in the cell phones. And then they start springing to life from the power going into them. And as they spring to life, and as the cell phone signal hits, the phones start going off over and over and over again, notification after notification after notification, all these notifications, bling, 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 bling. And the man and the little orphan are just standing there astonished. And the rich man is just standing there waiting. Notification after notification after notification on all these cell phones. And when they finish, the rich man picks up the oldest cell phone and hands it to the man. And the man's like, what is this? And the rich man says, open the notifications. He looks at the phone, hundreds of thousands of notifications on this phone. Pushes the button, and the first notification pops up, and it is from the night that he left the house. And the message says, I followed you out of the house. I was calling your name. I watched you run down the street in the rain. I wanted you to come back. I know that you messed up. I know that you did something that you weren't proud of, but I wasn't looking to punish you. I was looking to help you restore, and I wanted to help you in that place so that things could be okay, but you ran away. Then he went to the next message. I saw you standing with your friends when you threw all your friendships away because you felt too dirty to be around them. I wanted to help you. I wanted to embrace you. I wanted to tell you, no, that's not what you need to do. You just need to man up. You need to apologize, and then you need to get walk through this portion of your life, but you wouldn't hear me. Then he skips a couple of messages and he says, I seen when you started sticking that needle in your arm. I was banging on the window, but you were so high already that you couldn't hear me banging. You couldn't hear me call your name. And the only thing I wanted to do was be able to go in there and take that needle out of your arm and bring you back to, you could be back to healthy and not addicted to this stuff anymore. Then he skips a couple more messages. I seen you and your wife break up. I seen you and your wife get divorced. And I was over there and I was trying to tap you on the shoulder, but you were so down in the dumps and so drunk that you wouldn't look up, and you just went into, you just passed out from all the drinks that you were drinking. I took you home. I made sure that you got there. Did you not wonder how you got home after being in that state? Then he skips a couple of messages. I was there when you put that gun to your head. I was banging on the window. I was knocking on the door. I tried to call the police, but I didn't know the address, and the GPS system is not working. I was there and I was yelling your name, but you were so wrapped up in your situation that you couldn't hear my voice. The rich man had texted that young man every day of his life since the day that he walked out, telling him that he knew the situations, telling him that he knew where he was, telling him that he wanted to help him. But the young man wouldn't take it. And the little orphan boy is just sitting there like, this is mind blowing. This is mind blowing. What is happening? And then the other young man looks at his dad and he's like, but I'm too dirty. I'm too dirty to come back. I can't be in your presence. I can't live this life. I can't even look you in the face right now. And the rich man says, just come home. All I'm asking is for you to come home. I'm not even asking for an apology right now. I'm just asking for you to come home. And then the young man says, but no, I don't want to do this. I can't. I disrespected you so much. And the rich man says, I don't care. Just come home. We'll figure it out together. As a family, we'll figure it out. Just come home, my son. I can't. Just come home, my son. I don't want to. Just come home, my son. But you hate me. No, I don't. Come home, my son. And this conversation goes on for a minute. And then the man finally sits down. Okay. And the father says, I know that you're going through another divorce. I know your children don't talk to you. I know that your company is starting to go out of business. I know this. But my son, if you start doing things the way that I instructed you, the way that I taught you, we can save everything and restore everything that you're about to lose. The young man's like, whatever. Little orphan boy standing there like, no, we can do it. And I'll be here to help too. You're my brother. You're my brother. Let's get this. Let's do this. Let's do this as a family. Dad is with us. I'm here. You're not alone. Let's go. The man starts to break down. He lifts up his eyes and he looks at the rich man and he says, okay. And then he says, I watched when you picked up that little orphan boy, just like you did me when I was an orphan. And you started raising him just like you were me. And I resented him so much because I wanted your company. I wanted you. I wanted to see you. I wanted to be around you. But because I had done the wrong things, I thought you wouldn't. Yeah. They put everything back together. They make everything squeaky clean. He gets back with his wife. His kids come back. His business starts to flourish. And then they continue on and moving into excellence. The little orphan and the other young man, they continue living in the excellence of the instructions of their father. And I laid there, and like I said, y'all, I know that was long, but that was the shortened version. And I laid there and I was like, dang, Lord, why are you telling me this story? And then he said, this is the story of every one of my children. Every one of my children that doesn't know their father. Every one of those orphans that feel like that nobody is with them, nobody that is walking with them, nobody is helping them, nobody is going to be there for them. Every one of my children I watch over every single day. Every one of my children I have made a room for. Every one of my children I want to give my instruction to. Every one of my children I want to show them the proper path to go. Every one of my children I want to protect them from themselves. Every one of my children I want to deliver them from addiction. Every one of my children I want to pull them out of that garbage dump that they keep thinking is their identity and show them their actual identity. This is the story of you. This is the story of the people that I put in your life. This is the story of people that you haven't even met yet that I've destined you to reach, because you are one of the orphans that listened to my instruction no matter how much you messed up and continued to come to me. All I want is for my children to come to me. All I want is my children to see me for who I am. No, I'm not trying to control them. No, I'm not trying to hurt them. And it breaks my heart every time I watch one of my children hurt themselves. It breaks my heart every time I hear one of my children thinking that it's my fault when they can't see the obvious and it's their fault. Just like the other young man, when he started doing things the way that he wanted to do them instead of the way that I instructed him to do it. And as his life started to fall apart, as he started to make mistakes, as things started to go in a wrong direction, instead of becoming repentant, he went the other direction and ran off. But then he blamed me. Had me rocked, y'all. We deal with that feeling of rejection, that feeling of being an orphan. But our Father in heaven has an identity for us. And we just have to plug in with him. We just follow his instructions. We follow his lead. We follow his word. We follow everything that he has asked us to do. Yes, we're going to mess up, but that doesn't mean that we have to run away and start blaming and do something that is not what we're supposed to do. We mess up. We repent. We go back to our Father. Man, I messed up again. Well, let me show you how to do it right again. Okay. And then we learn the lesson and then we move forward. This story really rocked me to my core last night, man. I wanted to share it with you guys because God, our Father in heaven, is showing us the proper direction. He's showing us the way that we need to go. But so many of us turn a blind eye and a deaf ear to it because we think we know better. But I'll tell you right now, when I started listening to my Father, when I started following his instructions, when I started doing the things that he has instructed me to do, my life became way more full than it ever was. And that has into our Father's instructions and see the many good things that the Father has for us. Just because it doesn't look the way that we think it should, doesn't mean that it's not right. Sometimes we need to be redirected from what we think should happen due to the fact that we don't know any better and that we're just out there hurting ourselves. Man, I thank God for that story that he told me last night. I didn't go to bed until 7. And like I said, it started at 3. This was a long story, man. Like he told it to me vividly. I could see everything that was happening. And man, it was just awesome. So I just wanted to share that with you guys real quick. But I know what you guys are really here for. You guys are here for the proverb of the day, Proverb 15. So let's get into it real quick. Father God, we thank you so much for your presence. We thank you so much for your love. We thank you so much for your forgiveness. And we thank you for the path that you guide us on. Father, let your light shine deep down within us. Let us just start to focus on you and follow your instruction and follow the places that you have called us to in order to get deeper in our relationship with you. Let this word saturate the innermost parts. Let your light shine deep down within us, destroying all darkness and permeating through us and reaching out to the other people that we see that you have called us to reach within our multitude, within our influence. Father, we thank you right now for this moment to just be in your presence and seek your guidance. In Jesus' mighty name I pray. Amen and amen. So let's get it. Proverbs 15, man, King James Version. A soft answer turneth away wrath, but grievous words stir up anger. Learn how to speak softly to people. We don't always have to be yelling. We don't always have to be the loudest one in the room. Sometimes a soft word gets more attention than screaming, yelling, and hollering. You know what I'm saying? The tongue of the wise useth knowledge up. The tongue of the wise useth knowledge aright, but the mouth of a fool poureth out foolishness. That's right. Not somebody with knowledge knows when to be quiet. Somebody with knowledge knows how to speak correctly. Somebody with knowledge knows when it's time to shut up and in through, know when to be quiet and just kind of wait it out. Let that person finish up what they have to say, and then ask them, do you truly feel better? Are you all right? So now can I give you my side? Or if no words are needed, no words are needed, and kind of leave it at that. But foolishness, it just starts to pour out. It just goes all over the place. Foolishness is venom, man. When you find yourself doing foolish things and you're just spewing venom out all over the place and trying to hurt people, it's not okay. It's not productive. And sometimes you can't take back things that you say. So use self-control in that. The eyes of the Lord are in every place, beholding the evil and the good. Again, God's presence is everywhere. He is omnipotent, omnipresent. You can't hide from him. His eyes are on the evil and the good. And here's the thing. We've got free will to choose if we're going to be evil excuse me, if we're going to walk in the evil path or if we're going to walk in the good. And I'm talking about his standard, not ours. Our standard is skewed. In our standard, somebody that's come out standard. So any blemish is a blemish that can be washed clean with the blood of Christ. So we have to look at things in God's perspective, in God's understanding. We can't put our limitations on it. Our moral standard is corrupt. It's wicked. A lot of the time, shoot, our moral standard basically means as long as it's not affecting us and as long as it's not hurting us, we can do whatever we want. But everybody else better bend to my will in what I say. You see what I'm saying? And that's not right. That's not just. But God's way is just. And in that justness, evil and good are determined, right? And God's eyes is everywhere, on the evil and the good. And our free will, do we want to be evil or do we want to be good? It's our choice. I would much rather stand with my father than anything else. That's the choice that I made. It's the choice my family made. You feel me? A wholesome tongue is a tree of life, but for perverseness therein is a breach in the spirit. A wholesome tongue speaks life. Why is that? Because life is in the heart of the wholesome tongue. So therefore, life pours out of the mouth, because out of the abundance of the heart flows the mouth. So if you have a lot of life to give, life comes out of your mouth. You encourage, you edify. That's who you will be. And it will be a good thing. Perverseness therein is a breach in the spirit. Perverseness, man, speaking lies, speaking slander, speaking gossip. There are so many things that go along with perverseness. We can't twist those things up. We must walk in truth and speak in truth at all times. We must speak wholehearted things. We must speak life, not death, not condemnation. There's a difference between rebuking and correcting and condemnation. A fool despiseth his father's instruction, but he that regardeth reproof is prudent. If you regard reproof, if you regard correction, if you regard instruction, you are prudent. You are doing the right things. You're not being lazy. But a fool despises a father's correction. And how many times, I can't tell you how many times I despise the correction of anybody. Now, I honestly love correction. Correction is a very good thing in my world because it means that I will be better the next day. I may have messed up the one day, but I'll be better the next day because I'll receive that correction. You know what I mean? In the house of the righteous is much treasure, but in the revenues of wicked is trouble. Straight up, even the revenue of wicked people is trouble. Their increase is trouble. Their increase is trouble. Why? Whether it's stolen, whether it was gotten by unwholesome means. Like if you sold something that was stolen and you got the money and then they recover the thing and they gave you the money, like you're gonna be in trouble. Even their revenue is trouble. Their increase is trouble. Don't take somebody that is wicked. Don't take their funds because it's going to cause you trouble. Straight up. But in the house of the righteous, there is much treasure because like we were talking about in the story with the rich man. The rich man obviously shared everything with that little orphan, everything in his house, and showed him everything in the direction that he needed to go in order to take care of it. The lips of the wise disperse knowledge, but the heart of the foolish doeth not so. Mm-mm-mm. Mm-mm-mm. The lips of the wise disperse knowledge, y'all. Disperse knowledge. That's where we should be. But the heart of the foolish doeth not so. The heart of the foolish is full of things that will tear people down instead of things that build people up. The sacrifice of the wicked is an abomination. He's talking about when you're doing stuff out of the wrong intention. Or if you think that you can do whatever you want to do and then just have this big sacrifice and everything is going to be okay, that is wrong. It's not how it goes. The sacrifice of the wicked is an abomination to the Lord. What about when somebody goes into business, right? They go into business and they forget about their family and they do this and they cheat people, they rob people and all this, that, and the other. And then they get caught and then they turn around. They're like, you realize what I had to sacrifice in order to get to where I'm at? The Lord is like, that sacrifice is nothing. It don't mean nothing to me because it was wicked to move in integrity. The upright is able to move in spirit and in truth. And that's what we should be pressing for. We shouldn't be telling somebody, hey, how's it going? But in your heart, you hate them. You know what I'm saying? That's all bad. That's not how we should be walking. The way of the wicked is an abomination to the Lord. Sometimes moving in the righteous way means that you're going to have to take a couple of licks. Sometimes you may have to take that L for the greater good. And that's righteous moving. It's what happens sometimes. If you have to cheat in order to get to this thing, and you don't cheat and you don't get what you thought you were supposed to get, that's righteous, y'all. If you are about to expose somebody or you're about to have a conversation with them and then you're like, hey, Hey, bro, I used to deal with this. Not only dad, but I'm here too. Let's both get together and let's overcome this. That's righteousness, y'all. Come on, man. Righteousness is the ability to accept correction and apply that correction in your life. Righteousness is the ability to move in that excellence and integrity after learning these instructions and applying them to your life. All right? Correction is grievous unto him who forsaketh the way, and he that hateth reproof shall die. That's straight up. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Correction is grievous to those that forsake the way of the righteous. Why? Because they're being told that they're doing the wrong things. But then they want to turn around and act like they deserve to have the certain thing. No. Righteousness, y'all. We got to move in that. Correction happens when you're moving in the path of the righteous. It happens. And it's okay. Like I said, I love correction. When I am corrected, it means I will be better tomorrow. But there's a lot of us that won't take that and seem to think that it's all bad. But it's not. It's really, really good for you. Hell and destruction are before the Lord. How much more than the hearts of the children of men? So God sees hell and destruction. How much more does God see the hearts of the children of men? How much more does God see my heart? How much more does God see your heart? All day, every day. He knows exactly what's in there. This is why we should always approach his throne room with all truth and all spirit. All of it. If you have an issue with somebody, say that you have an issue with them when you're praying to the Father. Does that mean that the Father is going to do something to them on your behalf? No. But what that does mean is that the Father will reach down into your heart and change your heart posture towards that person. That's going to do a whole lot more than the Father doing something to him, because then you're going to be able to look at the situation and be like, dang, again, just like the little orphan boy, when he started hearing what the other man was saying, and then he started feeling bad for him in his heart, when just before he had all kinds of malice against him. But then he started going, man, this is why he's acting this way, because his life is falling apart. Our hearts, when we allow him that access, man, that person that you thought you would never forgive and you would never want to see in the face again, all of a sudden you start to have a different outlook on that person. Straight up. How much more than the hearts of children than men? Oh, hell and destruction are before the Lord. How much more than the hearts of the children of men? A scorner loveth not one that reproveth him, neither will he go unto the wise. So a scorner, a person that just wants to do foolish things, they will not approach wise people. They will stay away from wise people. Shoot, they'll rob wise people. They don't want nothing to do with wise people, man. People that want to be scoffers and scorners and characters that divide people, they don't pursue wisdom. They do it their own way, which then leads to their own destruction. Let's not be that way. It's okay to get cheerful countenance. It's all right, but you have to use some tact. If you see that somebody is down, don't be jumping all in their face with all kinds of cheerful stuff. Use some tact and be like, bro, what's going on? Remember Job's friends, Job's 3 friends that went over there and sat with him for 7 days in silence? We need to approach it that way sometimes. Sometimes we need to understand that people are hurting and they don't need us all smiling in their face and jumping around and doing silly jokes. Sometimes we just need to be silent with people. We need to use some tact in that, man. The heart of him that hath understanding seeketh knowledge, but the mouth of fools feedeth on foolishness. Right. Diving into this word. But the mouth of the fool feedeth on foolishness. All the days of the afflicted are evil, but he that is of merry heart will feast. The afflicted, he's talking about people that have chosen the wicked way. They're afflicted. They're in a bad place. They're spiraling out of control. They are getting their heart's desire. And all the days of the afflicted are evil. It's evil. It's all bad. That's not where you want to be. But if you're of the merry heart, you have a continual feast. If you have joy, if you have peace, if you have gentleness, if you have self-control, if you have kindness, if you have the fruit of the Spirit, Galatians 5:22-23. If you have those things, you will find yourself in a place of having a continual feast. Even when things look bad, you will be okay. That's the awesome part about following God, man. Real fear all the time. Running away and dealing with trouble or looking over your shoulder all the time. That's not no way to live. There's no peace in that. But it's better to have that reverence of the Lord That's what the fear is talking about. It's talking about that reverence, how awesome God is, just having that reverence for him. It's better to have little and have that reverence for God than it is to have everything and then be dealing with trouble all the time, always looking over your shoulder, because God is going to bring you to the proper place. Remember, seek ye first the kingdom of heaven, and all other things will be given to you. But you seek the kingdom of heaven. All that matters is seeking the kingdom of heaven. The byproduct is you get everything else. But we have to seek the kingdom of heaven with people that I love than a whole bunch of people that are backbiting and hating on each other. You feel me? I want to eat in joy and in peace. I want to eat without worrying about somebody sticking a steak knife in the back of my neck. You feel me? Like, I would much rather eat the salad with a whole bunch of people I have peace with than eat meat with a whole bunch of people I got to worry about getting a steak knife stuck in the back of my neck. You know what I mean? A wrathful man stirreth up strife, but he that is slow to anger appeaseth strife. Turn strife from being there to being non-existent. That's how we're called to be. We're called to be peacemakers, y'all. Peacemakers. Know what I mean? Not peacekeepers, peacemakers. We should be able to calm people down, even in their wrath. We should be able to bring them to a calm place. The way of the slothful man is an hedge of thorns, but the way of the righteous is made plain. So the way of the slothful man, they're going to have trouble. They're going to run into all kinds of problems because they weren't taking care of business. They're going to wind up being lazy and not be able to have the endurance to walk down the end of the driveway to get their mail. You know what I mean? But the way of the righteous is made plain. The way of the righteous is God gives us his instruction. It lights your path and you have an easier path. You know, it's narrow, but it's easier. A wise son maketh glad a father, but a foolish man despiseth his mother. Folly is joy to him that is destitute of wisdom, but a man of understanding walketh uprightly. See, this one right here, this one's crazy, man, because I don't think people understand how foolish people are. I know I do because I used to be one of them. I can't tell you how much joy it used to bring me to cause trouble for somebody. I can't tell you how much joy it used to bring me to make somebody have a bad day. I can't tell you how much joy it brought me to watch somebody be hurt. Feeding on the folly, finding joy in it. That wasn't okay, man. That was a sickness within me, straight up. And when I look back at that time of my life, man, it makes me sick to my stomach now. That I would think that it is okay to hurt somebody that was created in the likeness and image of God, another human being that was probably having just as much trouble as I was within their portion as I was in my portion, and thinking that me hurting them was justified and that's how it had to be. Makes me sick to my stomach to think that I used to be that way, man. But a man of understanding walketh uprightly. Walk in that integrity, walk in that excellence all the time. Without counsel, purposes are disappointed. Without counsel, purposes are disappointed, but in the multitude of counselors, they are established. Always have good counsel. Always have good counsel. Always have good counsel. You should have multiple people that give you good counsel that are around you all the time, and somebody that's kind of the well breaker. Like if there's a really big decision to make, there should be somebody that you trust a little bit more than everybody else that you kind of stick. I've got seven people I hold counsel with, and that's because I know that there is big decisions that I have to make, and it's unbalanced because then it can never be a tie. It has to go one way or the other every time. And my final counselor that I go to, he gives me the what for all the time. He's the one that takes the cat of nine tails to my back a lot in this walk. He corrects me a lot. And I love him for that, for real. A man hath joy by the answer of his mouth, and a word spoken in due season. How good is it? A word spoken in good season. When that good news comes right at the right time, right at the end, when you about to be like, whoo, I don't know if I can hold on any longer. And that good word comes right at the right time, and you just touch that. It's that good stuff, right? Man, praise God for that. The way of life is above to the wise, but he may depart from hell beneath. The way of life is above to the wise, that he may depart from the hell beneath. Always keep your eyes focused up. Always keep your eyes to the heavens. Always keep your eyes on the Father and following his instructions. Don't be downcast. One of those Psalms where they say, why are you so downcast, oh my soul? Well, we should be rejoicing the Father. That was in the Psalms 42. That's really where we should be. Our eyes should always be focused on heaven's word. Our eyes should always be focused on the promises of our Father. Our eyes should always be focused on the instruction of our Father and moving it forward. Things are just always going to be lofty and all over the place when we look to the left or the right. But we're not called to look to the left or the right. We're not called to be froward. We're called to go forward, and that's toward our Father. All right? The Lord will destroy the house of the proud, but he will establish the border of the widow. God is with the widows. God is with the poor. God is with the orphans. God is with his children, straight up. And he will establish everything for them. The thoughts of the wicked are an abomination to the Lord, but the words of the pure are pleasant words. Look, y'all, here's the thing. We are not going to be perfect until we go home. But when we press toward the mark of perfection, that's when you'll start to have the pure, pleasant words. That's when you'll be able to speak. He that is greedy of gain troubleth his own house, but he that hateth gifts shall live. Greedy of gain. What happens if you're greedy of gain? You're willing to take bribes, and you will destroy your house by taking bribes. But if you don't like to have those types of things, you'll live. You'll get away from that stuff. You get away from it. Just saying. You have to have that proper heart posture, man. That's what we strive for. We don't accept bribes. We don't tip the scales of justice because we're greedy for gain. No. We move in excellence in everything. And we don't allow the scales of justice to be tipped due to somebody doing something super nice for us. Or, hey, I noticed that you were getting ready to do this, so I got you this. Whoa, that's kind of weird, right? Make sure, because if you tip the scales of justice, you become an abomination. Remember what it say in earlier in Proverbs? It said that we're supposed to use just weights and equal scales, right? So if you tip the scales of justice due to a bribe, guess what? It's an abomination, because God says that if it's not an equal weight or a equal scale, it's an abomination. It's unbalanced. It's not okay. So make sure that you're always walking the upright way and do not take a bribe in order to sway the balance of justice, okay? The heart of the righteous studieth to answer, but the mouth of the wicked poureth out evil things. Come on. But the mouth of the wicked poureth out evil things. We got to be careful. Again, we got to learn when to be quiet. If we can't, sometimes we need to take that old school saying, if you got nothing nice to say, don't say anything at all, right? Sometimes we got to learn how to do that and just kind of, okay, we're going to back up off of it, right? It'll make us better. Straight up. It'll bring us closer to God, because we're learning self-control. The Lord is far from the wicked, but he heareth the prayer of the righteous. You know what's crazy? And I don't know if people even realize this. Did you know that God is always a whisper's distance away? I know way back when it always seemed like everybody was kind of making it sound like God was really far away, and I had to press really hard to get into his presence, and I had to do all kinds of jumping through hoops to get there. But contrary to that, and this is the truth, God is always a whisper's distance away for his children. If you're in a place and you're just like, Lord help, he's going to be there. Know that God hears with you, and he is ready to help you in your anger, in your depression, in your sadness, in your joy, in your peace, in your happiness, in your triumphs, in your defeats. God is always there. It's just a matter of what you're going to give the first fruit that you produce to. Are you going to give that first fruit to everybody that's standing around you? You're going to give that first fruit to your Father, because the Father says to give him the first fruits of all things you produce. It's not just money, y'all. It's everything. Read the book of Psalms. If you don't believe me, read the book of Psalms. Look at how David prayed. Look at how David worshiped. David pulled no punches with God. None. Break their teeth in their mouths. Strike them on the jaw. David gave God the first fruit of everything he produced. This is why David was a man after God's own heart. And this is told by God, that David was a man after my own heart. That's what God said about David. The secret is that David gave God the first fruits of all things he produced. And then he followed his father's instruction after he did that. So David didn't give his father the first fruits of everything he produced and then went out to war and struck people in the jaw to watch their teeth break. Oh, no, 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 no. David gave those thoughts to God. God ministered to David, and David walked out in excellence and didn't kill King Saul when King Saul was sleeping right there in David's presence. Didn't kill King Saul when King Saul was taking a bathroom break right in David's presence. David walked in excellence. That's where we need to walk. We'll get better at it as we apply it. It's going to take some time, but we're going to get good at it. I promise you. Just keep walking in that excellence, giving God the first fruit of everything. The light of the eyes rejoiceth the heart, and a good report maketh the bones fat. Woo! A good report is always good, right? The ear that heareth the reproof of life abideth among the wise. Straight up. If you hear the reproof of life, the correction of life, the instruction of life, life being the Father, you will be among wise people. You will be in the courts of the wise. You will be in places that you can't believe that you're in. Feel me? He that refuseth instruction despiseth his own soul, but he that heareth reproof getteth understanding. Straight up. Reproof is a major part of this. Part of this, you know? The fear of the Lord is the instruction of wisdom, and before honor is humility. Come on. Before honor is humility. You're humble. You know what's funny? A lot of people tend to not really understand the whole thing behind being humble. Humility. What does humility sound like? Sounds like you were humiliated, right? David was humiliated for the Lord. David danced around in his ephod, his underwear, in the joy of the Lord, and danced with all of his might. David was humiliated for the Lord. How many times have we been humiliated for the Lord? How many times have we been humbled in the Lord? Or did we tell ourselves that humbleness is a place that we bring ourselves to? In all honesty, that's kind of false humility. You know what I mean? Once you're humiliated, you start moving in the excellence that God brings you to. You start paying attention to what God is asking you to do. You start paying attention to the instructions that God gives you. And then you start walking in excellence. It's sad when we do have to be brought to that point in order to walk in that place properly. But man, it's so refreshing when you get to that place. Humility, humiliated. Before honor is humility. Before honor is humiliation. Before honor sometimes is being brought to the lowest of the low of that point of your life. Now, when you've been humiliated, you don't have to go any further. But unfortunately, some of us choose to go way further than we should have. You know what I mean? We got to be careful with that. We got to make sure that we are constantly following the instruction of our Father by diving into his word and finding out what he says to do. I pray that you guys heard something that you needed to hear tonight. I pray that everything is good and going the direction that you are just pursuing the Father and going for the gusto for the things that he has given you in your portion. Just pursue him fully. Everything starts to unfold. Like I said, man, with my day-to-day and seeing that brother that I haven't seen for 10 years and he's following God now, like, that's crazy to me, man, because me and him used to be in the clubs all the time together and having a great time. He was like family back then. He's still like family now. And to know that I could possibly have another person to lock arms with and go out there and reach these souls for my Father in heaven every single day is just awesome, man. It's just awesome. It's a good feeling. God puts together his team. I mean, to tell you guys the truth, when God gave me the vision for the remnant and he started showing me what I was going to do, I had no idea what the team was going to look like. But God has brought every single person that's a part of the team to the forefront of my life. And we gather, we do what we do, we love on one another. We are preparing for this great thing that God has for us. But it's not us. It's just God. This is God's team. This is God's ministry. This is what God wants us to do. And it continues to come together in miraculous ways, man. And I love it. I love it. I love it. So I'm going to just continue to trust God. Keep us lifted. We do have Break the Silence coming on May 9th in Ogden. I'm so looking forward to it. You know what I mean? Looking forward to getting a lot of the other assemblies together to pray for people, because I know there's going to be a big harvest when the Break the Silence comes. There's going to be a lot of people that are going to hear it. There's going to be a lot of people that are going to need prayer, and I can't wait to see the assemblies of the Father come together and reach them souls and bring those souls to their respective Sunday assemblies. See, this is the thing about the remnant. The remnant is not going to have a gathering place. We're not going to have a building. God specifically told me we won't have a building. So every place that we go, when we go to give a word, we will invite all the assemblies that are around that area to come and pray for the people that wind up hearing the word and they want to give their life over to God. Then they can invite them to their respective assembly. This is how God showed me the remnant was going to work. The remnant's not going to have numbers. The remnant is not asking for tithes to provide for us all the time. Like, it blows my mind that this break the silence is happening. And all I can do is praise God and thank him because, man, that's really the only way I can put it. Man, I can't believe it's happening. You know what I mean? So I love you guys. Continue pressing in excellence. Continue him in the ways of his instruction and watch him start to unfold some beauty in your life. I love you guys to life in Jesus' mighty name. Woo! Oh, snap. Lori, again, look, you get the 2 salutes, the 3 salutes, the double salute. For real, for real. Love you guys, man. We'll wind up seeing you guys tomorrow afternoon. All right? Woo!